You are now listening to Mark's Unexplained World on Hinckley Community Radio, a non-profit podcast radio station. This episode is about the Flat Earth Society. So over to you, Mark.
Modern flat earth beliefs are promoted by organisations and individuals advocating that, contrary to over 2 millennia of scientific consensus and denying the Earth's sphericity, the Earth is flat. Flat Earth beliefs are what are known as pseudoscience, with the hypotheses and assertions not being based on scientific knowledge. These flat earth advocates are now classified by experts as science deniers. Most of the modern flat earth groups actually date back to the middle of the 20th century, with some believers being quite serious and some not so. The serious groups are often motivated by either conspiracy theories or religion. With social media today moving at full throttle, flat earth theories have been increasingly pushed and promoted by individuals who are not necessarily affiliated with the larger groups, but instead use social media to spread their opinions. Greetings, Unexplainers. Thank you again for tuning in and listening to the many unexplained things I explore in Mark's Unexplained World. My name is Mark Hughes. I'm a psychic medium, an eclectic Wicca, and a man who feels it is normal to be abnormal. Tonight, I'm going to tell you the story about the Flat Earth Society. And this week's necessary disclaimer. If you are a flat earther, please try not to fall off the edge of the planet. Not only that, but you listen at your own discretion. Also, all opinions and comments are strictly my own, but the facts still remain. I also apologise if I pronounce anything incorrectly. My English, although it is my first and only language, does tend to fall flat at times. Did you see what I did there? Yeah, flat at times. Yeah. Anyway, back we go to the episode. Earth's sphericity has been widely accepted in the Western world since at least the Hellenistic period of 323 BCE to 31 BCE. It was not until the 19th century that the flat earth concept had a resurgence and became a widespread belief. Modern flat earth beliefs originated with the 19th century English writer Samuel Rowbotham. Rowbotham's original conclusions were derived from his 1838 Bedford Level experiments, which were published in the 1849 pamphlet titled Zetetic Astronomy, written under the pseudonym Parallax. On a side note, the Bedford Level experiment was a series of observations carried out along a 6-mile length of the Old Bedford River on the Bedford Level of Cambridgeshire in the United Kingdom during the 19th and 20th centuries to measure the curvature of the Earth. He later expanded this into the book Earth Not a Globe, proposing that the Earth is a flat disk centred at the North Pole and bounded along the southern edge by a wall of ice, which, as we know, is of course Antarctica. Rowbotham further held beliefs that both the Sun and the Moon were a mere 3,000 miles above the Earth, and that the cosmos was only 3,100 miles above the Earth. He also published a leaflet entitled The Inconsistency of Modern Astronomy and its Opposition to the Scriptures, which argued that, and I quote, "The Bible, alongside our senses, supported the idea that the earth was flat and immovable, and this essential truth should not be set aside for a system based solely on human conjecture." Rowbotham and followers like the English author and printer William Carpenter gained attention by successful use of pseudoscience in public debates, with leading scientists such as Alfred Russel Wallace. In 1883, Samuel Rowbotham created the Universal Zetetic Society in both England and New York, shipping over 1,000 copies of Zetetic Astronomy. On another side note, the Zetetic Society was originally founded by Lady Elizabeth Blount. These societies were based on interpretations of the before-mentioned Bedford Level experiment, placing more emphasis on biblical arguments for the flat earth theory than the modern Flat Earth Society, but also providing scientific arguments as well. Leading scientists Alfred Russel Wallace repeated the Bedford Level experiment in 1870, making corrections for the atmospheric refraction which showed a spherical Earth. The Universal Zetetic Society published a magazine, The Earth Not a Globe Review, which sold for twopence and remained active well into the early 20th century. Another flat Earth journal, Earth, a monthly magazine of sense and science, was published between 1901 and 1904. It was edited by English pamphlet writer and social activist Lady Blount. She held that the Bible was the unquestionable authority on the natural world and argued that one could not be a Christian and believe the earth is a globe. As time moved swiftly forward, several books that argued for a flat stationary earth were published, including Flat Earth proponents David Wardlow Scott's Terra Firma, The Earth Not a Planet, proved from scripture, reason and fact. But after the First World War, interest in the physical shape of the earth waned somewhat. In 1956, English conspiracy theorist and lecturer Samuel Shenton created the International Flat Earth Research Society, or better known as just the Flat Earth Society, as a successor to the Universal Zetetic Society, running it from its home in the County Dover, England. Given Samuel Shenton's interest in alternative science and technology, there was less emphasis on the religious arguments. Just before the Soviet Union launched their first artificial satellite, Sputnik, he said, and I quote, "Would sailing around the Isle of Wight prove that it was spherical? It is just the same for those satellites." His primary aim was to reach the minds of children before they were convinced about a spherical Earth. Despite plenty of publicity, the space race eroded Shenton's support in Britain until 1967, when he started to become famous due to the Apollo program. When satellite images showed Earth as a sphere, Shenton remarked, and I quote, "It's easy to see how a photograph like that could fool the untrained eye." When asked later about similar photographs taken by astronauts, he attributed the curvature to the use of wide-angle lenses on cameras, adding, and I quote, "It's a deception of the public and it isn't right." 1969, Shenton persuaded the British Labour politician and East London lecturer Ellis Hillman to become president of the Flat Earth Society. Samuel Shenton died in 1971, so Charles K. Johnson, a correspondent from California and the Apollo moon landings denier, then became president of the International Flat Earth Research Society of America. Over the next 30 years under his leadership, the Flat Earth Society grew to a reported 3,500 members. Charles K. Johnson spent the years examining the studies of flat and round Earth theories and proposed evidence of a conspiracy against flat Earth. He said, and I quote, "The idea of a spinning globe is only a conspiracy of error that Moses, Columbus, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt all thought." His article was published in the magazine Science Digest in 1980. It goes on to state, and I quote, "If it is a sphere, the surface of a large body of water must be curved. The Johnsons have checked the surfaces of Lakes Tahoe and the Salton Sea without detecting any curvature." Johnson issued many publications and handled all membership applications. The most famous publication was the quarterly 4-page tabloid, the Flat Earth News. Johnson paid for all these publications through annual member fees costing between $6 to $10 over the course of his leadership. After a short break, we'll look at the criticisms the Flat Earth Society have endured over the years and how it has grown in popularity.
This show is brought to you by courtesy of Neil Packer and the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre. Find them online at www.hauntedresearchcentre.com or at 9 to 11 Regent Street, Hinckley, LE10 1AW. Open Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for guided tours of the haunted rooms at just £3 per person. Booking is essential at all times and over 16s only, unless accompanied by an adult. The haunted rooms are extremely haunted, and paranormal activity could, and has, taken place at any time. Some areas and particular objects or items can be quite scary and unnerving. Why not pay them a visit to see for yourself? Membership is available for £25 to qualify for selective discounts. And why not download the app, available on both iOS and Android, for only $3.99 to keep you up to date with what's coming up at the centre.
Fright Nights was established in 1999 and was the first company in the world to offer overnight ghost hunt experiences to the general public, pioneering paranormal events since the last century. Now, over 23 years old, hundreds of ghost hunts join Fright Nights every month for the most thrilling ghost hunting experience worth remembering. If you have never been on a ghost hunt before, then why not join them on an event to see what it's all about? Fright Nights currently operates at hundreds of the UK's most haunted and exclusive venues with their teams of experienced paranormal investigators, mediums and psychics. You are guaranteed a quality night of ghost hunting unequalled by any other company. They have a VIP members club for regular returning guests, offering discounts and exclusive event invitations. And they can host private events for you and your friends, clubs or work colleagues. They have also expanded their new Friends of Fright Nights pages with many more new things to come. So why not book early with a small deposit so you don't miss out? The balance is due 28 days prior to the event. Contact them on 07852 998 628 or email at frightnightsevents@gmail.com. That's FRIGHTNIGHTSEVENTS@gmail.com. Or why not visit their website www.frightnights.co.uk, where you can see the many locations they investigate and learn a lot more about them and the opportunities they have available. You can also visit their many social media sites for up-to-date information on all the places they have been to and what's coming up in the future. They look forward to seeing you soon. Fright Nights Ghost Hunting Events. Remember, only the original will do.
The Flat Earth Society's most recent planet model is that humanity lives on a disk, with the North Pole at its centre and a 150-foot high wall of ice at the outer edge, otherwise known as Antarctica. The resulting map resembles the symbols of the United Nations, which Johnson used as evidence for his position. In this model, the Sun and Moon are both 32 miles each in diameter. The Flat Earth Society recruited members by speaking out against the US government and all its agencies, particularly NASA. Much of the Society's literature in its early days focused on interpreting the Bible to mean that the Earth is flat, although they did try to offer some scientific explanation as evidence. According to some lone flat earthers, the Flat Earth Society is a government-controlled organisation whose true purpose is to make ridiculous claims about a flat Earth and therefore discredit the Flat Earth movement. A sort of conspiracy within a conspiracy, I suppose. Anyway, according to Charles K. Johnson, the membership of the group rose to over 3,500 members under his leadership, but began to decline after a fire at his house in 1997, which destroyed all of the records, library, archives and membership lists of the Society's members. Johnson's wife, Marjorie Johnson, who helped manage the membership database, sadly passed away shortly after the fire, following a prolonged period of poor health. Johnson vowed he would rebuild the Society, but unfortunately and sadly, on the 19th of March 2001, at the age of 76, Charles K. Johnson died. This left the Society's future very uncertain. In 2004, Daniel Shenton, no relation to the aforementioned Samuel Shenton, resurrected the Flat Earth Society by basing it around a web-based discussion forum. He believes that no one has proved or provided any proof that the world is not flat. This eventually led to the official relaunch of the Society back in October 2009, and the creation of a new website featuring a public collection of flat earth literature. Moreover, the Society began accepting new members for the first time since 2001, with musician and 80s pop star Thomas Dolby becoming the first member to join the newly reconvened society. As of July 2017, over 500 people have become new members. In 2013, part of this society broke away to form a new web-based group, also featuring a forum. In the current digital age of information, the availability of communications technology and social media sites like YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, it has made it easy for individuals, whether they are famous or not, to spread their opinions and ideas and attract others to their way of thinking. And one of the topics that has spread far and wide in this type of environment is that of the flat earth. These sites have become platforms that make it easier for like-minded theorists to connect with one another and share their beliefs. Social media has had what they call a levelling effect, so experts have less of a sway in the public mind than they used to. In 2018, the documentary Behind the Curve was released, which follows prominent modern flat earthers including Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer, as well as various astrophysicists and psychologists who attempt to explain the growing fad. Mark Sargent is an American conspiracy theorist who is one of the leading proponents of the recruiters for the flat earth conspiracy theory in the United States. Not only that, but he has also been seen on UK television's ITV's This Morning programme many times. And Patricia Steer is a prominent flat earther and YouTuber. Dr. Joe Pierre, a professor of psychiatry at UCLA, blamed the Dunning-Kruger effect, in which people who know truly little think of themselves as experts. On another side note, the Dunning-Kruger effect is defined as a tendency of people with a low ability in a specific area to give overly positive assessments of this, there, or have a systematic tendency to engage in erroneous forms of thinking and judging. Yeah, that sounds like me. Well, sometimes anyway. It is claimed that modern flat earthers generally embrace some form of conspiracy theory out of necessity, explaining why institutions such as governments, media outlets, schools, scientists and even airlines all assert that the world is a sphere. It is also claimed that they tend to not trust observations that they have not made themselves personally. YouTuber Patricia Steer admitted in the documentary Behind the Curve that she would not have believed an event like the Boston Marathon bombing was real unless she had got her own leg blown off. Now that does seem to take it a little bit too far for me, but there you go. The scientific experts in the Behind the Curve documentary pointed to confirmation bias as a way to maintain a counterfactual belief by cherry-picking only supporting evidence and dismissing any disconfirming evidence as part of the purported global conspiracy. Some believers, such as author Zen Garcia and Edward Hendry, cite the Christian Bible as evidence for the flat earth. And some critics of the flat earth idea, such as astronomer Danny R. Faulkner, who is a young earth creationist, attempted to explain away the Bible's flat earth language. Another side note for you, the young earth creationism, or YECs for short, is a form of creationism which holds as a central tenet that the Earth and its life forms were created by supernatural acts of the Abrahamic God between approximately 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. On the 3rd of May 2018, American clinical neurologist and associate professor Stephen Novella analysed the modern belief in a flat Earth and concluded that, despite what most people think about the subject, the believers are being sincere in their belief that the Earth is flat and are not, and I quote, "just saying that to wind us up." He also said, and I quote, "In the end, that is the core malfunction of the flat earthers and their modern populist rejection of expertise in general. It is a horrifically simplistic view of the world that ignores, partly out of ignorance and partly out of motivated reasoning, to real complexities of our civilization. It is ultimately lazy, childish, and self-indulgent, resulting in a profound level of ignorance drowning in motivated reasoning." The British sceptical activist Michael Marshall attended the UK's annual Flat Earth UK convention on the 27th and 29th of April 2018 and noted disagreement on several views of the believers in a flat Earth. To Michael Marshall, one of the most telling moments at the convention was the flat Earth addiction. This test was based on a checklist used to determine whether someone is in a cult without the convention attendees realizing the possibility of themselves being in a cult. Based on the speakers at the 2018 UK's Flat Earth UK convention, believers in a flat Earth vary widely in their views. While most agree upon a disc-shaped Earth, some are convinced the Earth is diamond-shaped. Not only that, but most flat earthers do not even believe in outer space, with some of them believing that humans have never ever travelled into outer space. Their opinions vary quite wildly in their views of the universe. Filmmakers of the Behind the Curve documentary attended another Flat Earth conference at which a substantial number of people believed the Earth was an infinite plane, potentially with more continents beyond the purported circular ice wall of Antarctica. Some Flat Earthers believers are so conspiritual that they suspect other Flat Earth believers are also somehow part of the global conspiracy and are not to be trusted. Members of the Flat Earth Society and other Flat Earthers claim that NASA and other government agencies conspire to fabricate evidence that the Earth is spherical. According to the most widely spread version of current Flat Earth theory, NASA is guarding the Antarctic wall that surrounds the Earth. Flat Earthers argue that NASA manipulates and fabricates its satellite images based on observations that the colour of the ocean changes from image to image and that continents seem to be in different places. The publicity perpetuated I'll try that one again, shall I? The publicly perpetuated image is kept up through a large scale of practice of compartmentalisation, according to which only a select number of individuals have knowledge about the truth. Researching the arguments that Flat Earthers have regarded their beliefs shows three distinct factors. The first factor. This faction frames Flat Earthers' argument as revelatory. It subscribes to a faith-based conflict in which atheists use science to suppress the Christian faith. Their argument is that atheists use their pseudoscience, evolution, the Big Bang and the round earth to make people believe that God is an abstract idea and not real. The second faction. This faction frames that flat earth arguments as liberatory, believing in an overarching conspiracy for knowledge and suppression. Building upon the premise that knowledge is power, the flat earth conspiracy argues that a shadowy group of elites control knowledge to remain in power. In their view, lying about the fundamental nature of the earth primes the population to believe a host of other conspiracies. The third faction. This faction frames flat earth arguments as experimental. They are sceptical of any knowledge which comes from authoritative sources, especially government-sanctioned experts, especially book knowledge, believing that knowledge is personal and experiential. I think that's a word. This faction would like to find out themselves whether the earth truly is round or flat. Because they distrust book knowledge and mathematical proof, this faction believes that the earth is flat because their observations and lived experiences make it appear as if we live on a flat surface. Many organisations, sceptical of fringe beliefs, have occasionally performed tests in the hope that they can demonstrate the curvature of the earth. One of these was conducted by the members of an independent investigations group called the Centre for Inquiry at Salton Sea on the 10th of June 2018. On yet another side note, the Centre for Inquiry, or CFI, is a US non-profit organisation which works to mitigate beliefs in pseudoscience and the paranormal, as well as to fight the influence of religion in government. It was also attended by supporters of the Flat Earth Society, with the encounter between the two groups being recorded by the National Geographic Explorer. This experiment successfully demonstrated the curvature of the Earth via the complete disappearance over distance of both boat-based and shore-based targets. Of course, there have also been various other experiments over the years to prove the flatness of the Earth. In the 2018 documentary Behind the Curve, two groups of American believers were followed as they attempted to gather first-hand empirical proof for the Earth being flat. One group from the YouTube show Globebusters used a ring laser gyroscope in an attempt to show that the Earth was not rotating. Instead, they detected the actual 15 per hour rotation of the Earth, a measurement they disarm as corrupted by the evidence, somehow picking up the rotation as firmament. In biblical cosmology, the firmament is the vast solid dome created by God during the Genesis creation narrative to divide the primal sea into upper and lower portions so that the dry land could appear. Another group used lasers in an attempt to show a several-mile stretch of water being perfectly flat by measuring the distance between the water level and the laser beam along 3 vertical posts. They were unable to align the beam as they expected to, because the surface of the still water was in fact bent by several feet over a distance measured. The experiment was dismissed as inconclusive. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? I mean, anyway. American conspiracy theorist and flat earth proponent Mark Sargent claimed to have watched Flightware.com for an exceptionally long time to check to see if any distance on flights travelled between continents in the southern hemisphere will be much further apart than they are on the globe, based on his own disk model. Actually, on a personal note, I actually had a look at the Flight Aware website. It is awesome. It actually delivers a complete picture of historical and predictive global aircraft movements around the world as it happens. Amazing. Anyway, Mark Sargent claimed to have seen no such flights and took this as evidence for the disk model. However, when Caltech astrophysicist Hannelore Gerling Dunsmore went to the site, he immediately found flights that contradicted Sargent's claims. The solar eclipse on the 21st of August 2017 gave rise to numerous YouTube videos that purported to show how the details of the eclipse proved that the Earth was flat. Also in 2017, the Tunisian and Arab scientific and educational world had a scandal when a PhD student submitted a thesis declaring that not only is the Earth flat, but it is also the centre of the universe. This dissertation, which had not been approved by the committee overseeing the environmental studies theses, had been made public and denounced in 2017 by Hafed Ateb, a founder of the Tunisian Astronomical Society, on his Facebook page. And on the 24th of March 2018, daredevil and flat earth conspiracy theorist Mike Hughes, no relation, used a home-built crude rocket in an attempt to see for himself if the Earth was indeed flat. His rocket, which was made up from scrap metal, was estimated to cost around $20,000, and using a mobile home as a custom launch pad, he managed to climb to 1,875 feet, that's 572 metres, with Hughes inside. That ended with an awfully hard landing, even with the parachute successfully deploying. The amateur rocketeer was not seriously injured and remained firm in his flat earth beliefs. He claimed that tangible evidence will come with larger rockets. Unfortunately, Hughes's passion got the best of him when he was killed in an accident on the 22nd of February 2020 while piloting a flight of his own steam-powered rocket in a further attempt to prove the Earth was flat. The accident was caused by an early deployment and separation of the return parachute on the vehicle. The rocket impacted us after falling from an altitude of several hundred feet. Mike Hughes was unfortunately killed instantly. After Hughes's death, the public relations representative Darren Schuster stated that Hughes, and I quote, didn't believe in a flat earth, and that it was a PR stunt to get publicity. However, Michael Lynn, who worked on the documentary Rocket Man, Mad Mike's Mission to Prove the Flat Earth, said that Hughes's beliefs appeared genuine. So, what has been the social consequences for some of these flat earthers? The Behind the Curve documentary filmmakers spoke with several people who said that as a result of their flat earth beliefs, they had lost romantic partners and no longer spoke to many friends and family. One even said he was tired of being told he was an idiot. The Facebook group Flat Earth Match is a dating site used by some to find romantic partners who share the same beliefs. Caltech physicist Spyros Michaelakis said that instead of looking down on flat earthers, scientists should do a better job of teaching scientific facts. Various scientific and medical experts in the documentary supported improving scientific literacy and avoiding marginalisation of flat earthers. I think that made sense. They pointed out that people who distrust all of science, including truths and vaccine, evolution and climate change, would make poorly informed decisions, and that people who do not exercise the skill of critical thinking can be easily manipulated. They also pointed out that some believers were motivated to spread false ideas, and that because they are unconstrained by facts, they can mutate and become less harmless than a mere belief about the shape of the earth. Out of all the consequences, though, I think this one is probably the most profound. Experts pointed out that after social ties to people outside the flat earth community are lost, one of the consequences of abandoning the flat earth belief would mean a loss of all remaining relationships. Personally, I'm not a flat earther. However, I do admire the society and its members as a whole. In a world where we are quick to label people idiots or morons, just because they do not share the same opinions as you or me, it is great to see people sticking by their own belief system. Not only that, but I am a strong believer in free speech and freedom of expression. And as long as you don't do any real harm, physically or mentally, go on with your own beliefs. Life's too short. In this episode, I'm reminded of a quote by David Icke, who is an English conspiracy theorist and a former footballer and sports broadcaster. He said, and I quote, "The greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think."
Thank you all for taking the time out to listen to this episode of Mark's Unexplained World. Next time, we are going to look at the history of Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book was the code name for the systematic study of unidentified flying objects by the United States Air Force from March 1952 to its termination on the 17th of December 1969. The project, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, was initially directed by Captain Edward J. Ruppelt and followed projects of a similar nature, such as Project Sign, established in 1947, and Project Grudge in 1948. Project Blue Book had two goals, namely, to determine if UFOs were a threat to national security and to scientifically analyse UFO-related data. Thousands of UFO reports were collected, analysed and filed. As a result of the Condon Report, which concluded that the study of UFOs was unlikely to yield major scientific discoveries, and a review of the report by the National Academy of Sciences, Project Blue Book was terminated in 1969.
This show was written and researched by myself, Mark Hughes, and proofread and edited by Linda Hughes. The actors in this episode were Mark Hughes, Linda Hughes, and Denise Pooler. With special thanks to Neil Packer and the staff at the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley, and a big thanks to everyone at Hinckley Community Radio. Mark's Unexplained World, because there's more to the paranormal than meets the third eye. And remember, guys, keep it real, because being real is better than being perfect. This show and all its contents are covered by the basic copyright of Mark the Medium.